All right, Shalom, Shalom, Israel. First off, I want to give all glory and praises and honor to the Most High Yahweh, who the word calls God, and to his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai. This is Brother Yahweh Off and the fisherman for Zion, bringing out the word in sincerity and in truth through the spirit and power of the Most High, right? Instant in season and out of season, right? It's a little bit of raining out here, but we're going to bring the word out, to the edification of the sheep. Right, and today's topic is the spirits that are in the music that we listen to, right? Because little do we know that there's evil spirits and there's good spirits, right? So within our music that we listen to, we have to figure out, what type of spirits are on these music, because we can be listening to music and not even know like what really is the message or the point behind this certain music that we listen to. Because nowadays you got these young rappers who talk about guns, sex, killing each other, drugs, all this and that. And we have our youth, our little children, listening to this music, listening to these artists, idolizing them for the lifestyle that they live, not knowing that it's having a negative effect on our children, right? And now there's also, even with the gospel music, that the so-called gospel music that we listen to as well. There's spirits on that music as well, because you can listen to that music and start and burst out into tears, and you haven't heard not one scripture, right? So we're gonna get into it, through the spirit and power of the Most High Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Hopefully edifying the sheep, right? We're gonna start off with 1 Samuel, chapter 16, right? This is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 16, and verse 14. But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him. So the Lord has evil, like I said in the beginning, there's evil spirits and there's good spirits. So Saul, he was a king, right? He was a mighty king through the Spirit and power of the Most High, right? But the spirit that was on him began to basically wear away, tear you away, right? And as that good spirit, that righteous spirit began to go away from him, an evil spirit came, right? Reading on, verse 15. And Saul's servants said unto him, Behold now, an evil spirit from God troubleth thee. Like I just said, an evil spirit from the Lord. So the Lord creates all evil and all good, right? We're going to get a precept on that. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 45 and verse 7, right? Because the Lord creates everything, right? The book of Isaiah, chapter 45 and verse 7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. So the Lord creates good and evil. Contrary to what the world teaches, that the Lord, he doesn't hate, the Lord is all good. The Lord just said, I make good and I create, it's like I don't want to slander the word. Let me go back to it. The Lord just said, I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, Yahweh, do all these things. So the Lord makes evil and good, right? And we're going to get another precept on that, because the Lord is all about just balances, right? The book of Proverbs, we're going to go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 11, right? To get it more in depth on that. The book of Proverbs, chapter 11, and verse 1. A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. So you can't have anything without the other, without the opposite. So there's good and there's bad, love, hate, right, wrong, right, up, down, right? So the Lord is all about just balances. So if he creates good, it has to be evil to even the balance out, right? Reading on with 1 Samuel chapter 16 and verse 16. Let our Lord now command thy servants which are before thee to seek out a man who is a cunning player on an harp. And it shall come to pass, when the evil spirit from God is upon thee, that he shall play with his hand, and thou shalt be well. So the Lord his servants, they knew and they seen that the evil spirit was on this man, King Saul, right? So they said, look, Lord, seek out a man. Let us seek out a man that's a cunning player with a heart to heal you, to bring back that righteous spirit, right? And that man is King David, right? He wasn't King David at the time, but it was David the shepherd, right? So they said, we're going to seek out a man to heal you from your sickness. That's a sickness from the Most High, right? And we're going to read it on to better prove that it was talking about King David, right? In the following precepts. Verse 17. And Saul said unto his servants, provide me now a man that can play well, and bring him to me. Verse 18. Then answered one of the servants and said, behold, I have seen a son of Jesse, the Bethlehemite, that is cunning in playing, and a mighty valiant man, and a man of war, and prudent in matters, and a comely person, and the Lord is with him. So this man, he was basically well-rounded, right? Well-rounded, a well-rounded man, right? Prudent in matters, meaning he was very wise in his speech. He can talk very wisely. When you heard this man speak, he was like, you was in awe basically, because he was so wise with his words, right? Reading on, verse 19. Wherefore Saul sent messengers unto Jesse and said, send me David thy son, which is with the sheep. And Jesse took an ass laden with bread and a bottle of wine and a kid, and sent them by David his son unto Saul. So the kid that's being talked about there is a sheep or a baby cattle. It's not talking about a real kid, okay? It's talking about an animal, right? Because instead of sending him money like how we do in today's world, they sent sheep or cattle, right? Verse 21, 1 Samuel 16 and 21. And David came to Saul and stood before him, and he loved him greatly, and he became his armor bearer. So, you know, back in the ancient days, they actually loved each other, right? They loved each other, and it's not a bad thing to love your brother. It's not a bad thing to love your neighbor, right? The Lord said, love your neighbor, right? Even as thou love thyself, roughly paraphrasing, right? Reading on, 1 Samuel 16 and 22. And Saul sent to Jesse, saying, let David, I pray thee, stand before me, for he hath found favor in my sight. And it came to pass, when the evil spirit from God was upon Saul, that David took an harp and played with his hand. So Saul was refreshed and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him. So David got to playing that harp. He was playing it so good with his hands. The Lord was upon that man David, right? King David, mighty Israelite, right? From the tribe of Judah, right? He was a mighty man. So he was so well-rounded, he started beginning to play in that harp, that Saul, the evil spirit from Saul, just left. It went away because David was so blessed by the Lord. The Lord was really with David, right? All praises to the Most High for his spirit, right? Because, and that just proves even more, right, through the scriptures, that there are evil spirits and there's good spirits through music, right? Through sound, what we listen to, right? So the Lord was so upon David, King David, that he was playing an instrument of 10 strings or more with his hands, and it healed a man from an evil spirit, what we would know today as a demon, right? We're going to go to Sirach chapter 32 and verse 4, right? In the Apocrypha. And this is the Apocrypha, right? You're going to find this in the original King James text, the 1611 of the Bible, right? Sirach chapter 32 and verse 4. We're going to start at verse 4. Pour not out words where there is a musician, and show not forth wisdom out of time. So the Lord said, basically the Lord is saying, don't be speaking when there's a musician playing music, right? Because you're supposed to be enjoying the music, not talking. That's why the musician is there, right? And show not forth wisdom out of time. So don't be talking when it ain't the right. Don't be talking a lot, basically, is what the Lord is saying. Right? Don't talk a lot. Right? Because it's not meet It's not expedient for you to use much words, right? Reading on, verse 5. A concert of music and a banquet of wine is as a signet of carbuncle set in gold. So the Lord said it's beautiful to be enjoying have wine, basically to be gathered together righteously, drinking a little bit of wine, listening to music. But on another fold, a more spiritual fold, it's also talking about having a righteous conversation, right? So if me and another brother is having a good conversation and it's very enjoyable, and it's very what's the word I'm looking for? It's expedient, profitable, right? We're having a profitable conversation. We could be talking about funds. Most profitable conversation you could ever have is talking about the scriptures, right? It's very beautiful to have conversation in righteousness, right? Verse 6, as a signet of an emerald set in a work of gold, so is the melody of music with pleasant wine. So it's beautiful to have, on another fold, it's beautiful to have a righteous conversation. There it is again, right? And it's comparing them to beautiful stones or beautiful metals, gold and emerald, right? Verse 7, speak, young man, if there be need of thee, and yet scarcely when thou art twice asked. So the Lord said, the only time you should be speaking is when there's a need, right? When there's an occasion to do good, right? So don't just be out here blabbing your mouth, jumping into everybody's conversations, right? Because you don't know what they talking about. But your input could be throwing the whole topic off, right? So we got to be wise out here in these last days, and just the Lord said, watch and pray, right? So you're supposed to be watching. More so when you're watching, you should also be listening. That's why you have 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. Because you should do more watching and listening than you are speaking, right? Through the Spirit. All right, verse 8, let thy speech be short, comprehending much in few words. Be as one that knoweth, and yet holdeth his tongue. So the Lord said, let your speech be short. So, because wisdom is known by few words, right? That's how you can tell if a person is wise or not, by their short words, but they get the point across with certain words, for lack of better terms, right? Let's go to Revelation 15:3, right? The book of Revelation, chapter 15 and verse 3, and they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb, saying, great and marvelous are thy works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. So this is talking about after we're delivered, into the chariots, beamed up, most high willing, we all make it. After we're delivered up, we're going to be looking down in the firmament, seeing all hell breaking loose on the earth, right? The Lord said we're going to be singing a song, the song of Moses, right? What's that song of Moses? We're going to go to the book of Exodus, chapter 15 and verse 3, right? Brothers bring this song out a lot, when we out on the highways and byways, many camps, all the camps. I'm highly certain that we all bring this song out. Mainly the book of Exodus 15 and 3. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is Yahweh is his name. But that's an actual song that we were singing, right? When we came out of when we fled out of Egypt with Moses, right? And we're going to get that. The book of Exodus chapter 15, we're going to start at verse 1. Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spake, saying, I will sing unto the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown down into the sea. The Lord is my strength and song. He is become my salvation. He is my God, and I will prepare him an habitation. My father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord is a man of war. Yahweh is his name. So contrary to popular belief, they say the Lord is all about love and peace. No, the Lord is about war. He's a mighty man, right? The Lord is about war and death and destruction, right? You find it out throughout the whole Bible. The Bible is about lamentation, woe, and death, right? The mighty prophet Jeremiah had an experience of that, right? And Ezekiel, if I'm correct, you know, most I willing, you know, one of those two mighty prophets had an experience of that, right? Let's go to the book of Amos, chapter 6. Right? The book of Amos, chapter 6, and verse 1. We're going to start at verse 1. Because, like I was saying, these, you know, that's a righteous song right there. That's a righteous song with a righteous spirit on it. Talking about the Most High. You know, we were singing and dancing. Lord, the Lord is his name. The Lord is a man of war. He saved us. All praises to the Most High, right? When we was leaving out of, you know, Egypt with Moses, we was righteously singing to the Most High. That's a righteous song right there, with a good spirit on it, right? Right? We're going to read Amos chapter 6 and verse 1. Woe to them that are at ease in Zion, and trust in the mountain of Samaria, which are named chief of the nations, to whom the house of Israel came. So the Lord said, death and destruction to them that are at ease in Zion. Who is Zion? Right? That Zion is the children of Israel, right? So the Lord said death and destruction, right, to you, right? Why? Because you're at ease and you trust in the mountain of Samaria. Who is the mountain of Samaria? You're going to find out that it's Babylon the Great, or so-called America, right? Reading on, and trust in the mountain of Samaria, which are named chief of the nation. Who is chief of the nations right now? It's America. That's who's chief of the nation, because they have a military base in each, you know, in each country, right? They chief of the nations. So the Lord said, woe to them that are at ease in Zion and trust in the mountain of Samaria. So the Lord said, death and destruction to you, because you trust in a nation that cannot save you, right? Lamentations 4 and 17, right? Verse 2, Amos 6 and 2, pass ye unto Calneh and see, and from thence go ye to Hamath the great, then go down to Gath of the Philistines. Be they better than these kingdoms, or their border greater than your border? So the Lord said, go down to these places and see if it's better than this place right here, Babylon the Great. No, you're not, right? Gonna find it. Right, verse 3, yea, that put far away the evil day. So the Lord said, woe, death and destruction to you that put far away the evil day. What's the evil day? The return of the Lord. Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. That's the evil day. Because when he comes back, he's not going to be coming back giving hugs to everybody, right? He's going to be coming back with fear, anger on his face, right? Fury in his bones, right? And his eyes going to be red like a fire. And he's going to be slaying all of his enemies, right? All of his enemies. Who are his enemies? Everybody that persecuted him and persecutes his people, right? And that oppresses his people. And who is his people? Right? The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? The children of Israel, right? The 12 tribes. Those are his people, right? Reading on, continuing on, Amos 3 and 6 and 3. Yea, that put far away the evil day, and cause the seat of violence to come near, that lie upon beds of ivory and stretch themselves upon their couches, and eat the lambs out of the flock and the calves out of the midst of the stalls. So the Lord said death and destruction to you, because you're relaxing. Why are you relaxing, right? This is not a time to be relaxing, right? You need to be up on your feet, getting into these scriptures, fighting for your people, right? And it's going to say that in the next verse. The next few verses, you know. Verse 5, that chant to the sound of the viol, and invent to themselves instruments of music like David, right? What's this? The Lord said, death and destruction to you that chant to the sound of the viol. What's the viol? It's this music that you listen to. All these rappers talking about killing, drugs, sex, and all these female rappers as well, talking about city girls, all this and that, hot girl summer. That's foolishness, man. The Lord never said go out and be a harlot, right? The Lord said be a righteous woman, be blameless, shamefaced, right? Wear modest apparel. So you sisters, you got to put on modest clothing. Stop coming out here, you know, with your behind all out, you know, twerking in the middle of the streets. That's foolishness. You are not the daughter of Zion walking like that. So you got to change your stature. And brothers as well, you got to stop killing your brothers. You got to stop having an evil eye towards your brother, because everything that they rap about and that they sing about is all against the scriptures. And if it's against the scriptures, then that's the work of Satan, right? It's clearly the work of Satan because it's going against the word of the Lord. The Lord never said smoke weed. The Lord said that the earth is for the healing of the nations, right? So you can eat the hemp plant, but you cannot smoke it. Why? Because you're defiling your temple, right? And what the Lord say about those who defile the temple, right? The Lord said, death and destruction to you. The Lord said he's going to destroy you for defiling your temple, 1 Corinthians 3:17, right? So if you're defiling your temple, you're going to be destroyed unless you repent and come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments, right? Because you don't want to be caught out. You don't want to be caught out here smoking and with the defiled temple when the Lord comes back, right? Because those who have a defiled temple, it's not going to be good for them. You're going to be one of the first that the Lord lay his weapon to, right? He going to slit you in half, right? Your blood is going to be amongst his sword or amongst his garment after he get done with these Edomites, right? Continuing Amos 6:5, that chant to the sound of the viol. What the modern day chant, right? In the ancient days, they had chants where they used to sit around, and chant all these evil spirits, right? Evil sayings, right? But your modern day chant, what's your modern day chant? Your modern day chant is when you go to these parties and these concerts, and you chanting the words, right, to Little Baby, the Baby, what's her name? These female rappers, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, the Migos, all these rappers in the industry, you chant. That's a chant. That's because you're gonna find out that they have evil spirits put on these lyrics, right? Because how in the world can you hear a song for the very first time and remember all the lyrics that day? You hear a song and you be just singing the lyrics. You be walking around catching yourself singing the lyrics all day. And you memorize these lyrics. How in the world can you memorize the lyrics after the very first time you hearing that song? That don't happen with nothing else on the earth. Why? Because they actually have witches and warlocks coming into these studios and putting spells and witchcraft on these artists, right? Most of these artists out here, they selling their souls, right? NBA YoungBoy, all these artists out here, right? All of them. So you gotta watch who you're listening to, people, because they're leading you to destruction, right? You don't believe me? Why you think he hanging around Snoop Dogg, right? They put it in there. They give you the message in your song. You just gotta watch. You gotta pay. That's why the Lord said, watch and pray, because you don't know what's going on, what these devils out here putting in your music. So we gotta be mindful of what we're listening to out here, people, right? We have to be mindful, right? And it's very rare that you'll find, well, it's not rare now because the truth is out. You got a lot of brothers and sisters that's out making truth music, righteous music, according to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, right? Let's talking about the gospel, right? The kingdom of heaven, that is only for the children of Israel. There are 12 gates, right? Revelation chapter 21, right, in verse 12, right? Right, correct. So the Lord said, woe and death and destruction to those that chant, right, to the sound of the viol, and invent to themselves instruments of music like David. What are these instruments of music? Your modern day, them beat pads, all this and that. That's your instruments that you create. They got evil spirits on them, right? Verse 6, that drink wine in bowls and anoint themselves with the chief ointments, but they are not grieved for the affliction of David. I'm Joseph, Salaki, right? So the Lord said death and destruction because you out here drinking, getting drunk, right? And you anoint yourself with chief ointments. What are these ointments? Anything, drugs, all of this folly that you're doing out here, right? But you're not grieved for the affliction of Joseph, right? You're not grieved for the affliction and persecution and oppression of your people. But you out here steady having fun. Oh, all this and that. I'm living my best life. No, man. You're supposed to be out here reading these scriptures, feeling sorry for your people. Thus saith the Lord. Right? Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 15. All right, is that what I want? Chapter 6. 2 Samuel chapter 6 and verse 15. So David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord, Yahweh, with shouting and with the sound of the trumpet. And so they were shouting. This another example of righteous music. We were shouting, we were dancing. King David was dancing so hard he came out his clothes. What person can dances so hard righteously that they come out their clothes? I haven't seen not one of these gospel Christians do that. Right? The clothes fit them real well, right? Like how this kind of fit me real well. So how he out there dancing, so hard he come out his clothes. You gonna find out that the spirit of the Lord was upon that man, right? And that's the only way you can dance out of your clothes like that, right? We're gonna read on 2 Samuel 6 and 16. And as the ark of the Lord came into the city of David, Michal, Saul's daughter, looked through a window and saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, and she despised him in her heart. So his own wife was mad because he was dancing so hard for the Lord, right? The brother was dancing so hard, he came out his clothes, and his wife was hating on him because he was rejoicing, and he was thanking the Lord. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Kahala, Yahweh, right? All praises, right? So his wife was even hating on him because he was jumping for joy. He had his hands up, and he was giving praises to the Most High, right? And that's what we used to do. That's how we used to give praises to the Lord, right? We did that in a righteous sense, right? In a righteous sense. All right, let's go to 1 Chronicles chapter 25 and verse 1. Starting at verse 1. 1 Chronicles 25 and 1. Moreover, David and the captains of the host separated to the service of the sons of Asaph and of Heman and of Jeduthun, who should prophesy with harps, with psalteries, and with cymbals, and the number of the workmen according to their service. So King David basically had a choir, right? Why did he need a choir, right? Because there's a certain amount of people that you got to have. I mean, you don't have to have it, but that's a righteous thing in the sight of the Lord to have, order. The Lord is all about order and balance. So King David divided his people, right, so that they can give righteous praises unto the Most High. Right? That's the things that we used to do back in the ancient days. Right? Let's go to the book of Exodus chapter 15 and verse 20. The book of Exodus chapter 15 and 20. And Miriam, this is also going back to, them giving praises in Exodus 15 and 1 through 3 to the Most High. And Miriam, verse 20, and Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron and Moses, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. So they went out. They was out here giving praises to the Most High. The women, the righteous women, right? She was a prophetess, a righteous woman in the eyes of the Lord. Right. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 19. So there is righteous music that you can listen to, but the music that we listen to now is not that music, and it's not pleasing in the sight of the Lord. Right? Because, you have to have evil spirits on your music to make you say, oh, I'm going to kill this nigga, or I'm going to steal his wife, or I'm going to rob this nigga. That's the work of Satan. Or I'm going to go smoke this 2-gram blunt. Or I'm going to get drunk tonight and I'm going to have sex with my wife. Or I'm going to beat on this woman. Or I'm going to slap this hoe. Oh, all this, and that's foolishness. That's literally the work of Satan, right? That's literally the work of Satan. Feeding that music into our little children, right? So now they growing up being like that nigga over there. That's not what we're supposed to be doing, people. We need to raise up our children the right way, right? And what's the right way? The law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord, right? Because if we don't raise up our children the right way, we're going to continue to live in this oppressed state, right? And that's the only reason why we're in this oppressed state, because we were doing everything contrary to the scriptures, right? And you're going to find that in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15, right? That's the reason why we went into slavery. That's the reason why our ancestors were shipped over here on ships, right? Deuteronomy 28 and 68, one of the curses, right? Now let's go to Ephesians 5 and 19. Speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. So what is this talking about? It's talking about you meditating on the scriptures, right? You're thinking to yourself, you're walking throughout the day, you know, quoting the scriptures. That's righteous in the eyes of the Lord, right? You're going to build up your spirit by doing so. You're going to please the Lord by doing so, right? And what's contrary, what's opposite of that? What's the equal level of that? You going throughout your day quoting, oh, I'm going to kill this nigga, oh, I'm going to shoot this nigga, and all this and that. That's opposite of what the Lord actually wants. Like the scriptures say, the Lord is all about just balance. So if you got men out here on the right-hand side, you know, quoting the scriptures and meditating and all day, what you gonna have on the left-hand side? The opposite balance. Men out here talking about killing each other, stealing their wives, robbing banks, all this and that foolishness. So it's a just balance, right? And you got to figure out what balance you want to be on, right? The right-hand side or the left-hand side. And the left-hand side is not gonna end good for those people at the end of the day, right? Because it's contrary to what the Lord said. The Lord said, all the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, right? The book of Amos chapter 9 and verse 10. So the Lord says, speaking to yourselves, right, in psalms and hymns. What's the psalms and hymns? These scriptures. Meditating constantly on righteous things. Oh, I'm going to get into the kingdom. Hoping and praying that you're going to get into the kingdom of heaven. That's a psalm. That's a hymn. Oh, I want that Edomite, that Moabite, that Ammonite, all my slaves in the kingdom of heaven. That's righteous things in the eyes of the Lord, right? We're going to get a few more precepts and then we're going to close it down, most I willing. Let's go to the book of Colossians chapter 3 and verse 16. All right, the book of Colossians 3 and 16. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with the grace in your hearts to the Lord. So the Lord said, let the word of Christ dwell, Hamashiach, dwell in you richly in all wisdom. So you're supposed to be thinking, reverencing the scriptures all day, right? Because that's a righteous thing. Teaching and admonishing one another in songs and in hymns and spiritual songs. So you're supposed to be admonishing your brother, hey brother, you know, you're supposed to be feeding your brother with the scriptures to help exhort them, to help them continue to endure, right? Singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord. So these scriptures are your grace and, you know, your singing, right? Because on a spiritual level, to a righteous person, this is music. Reading the scriptures is music to their ears, right? Reading the scriptures is music to a righteous person's ears. But if you're doing this and you reading the scriptures into a wicked person's ears, they're not going to want to hear the word of the Lord. They're going to be like, why are you reading the scriptures? Right? I want to hear from your mouth. I want to hear what you got to say. But the Lord said, if any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God. That's what the Lord said, right? And we're going to get a precept on the Lord, you know, creating evil, right? From earlier. The book of Job, chapter 1 and verse 7. And the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? So the Lord is control. So contrary to popular belief, the Lord is control of Satan, right? Satan has to answer to the Lord, right? So Satan can't rebel against the Lord because he's an evil angel. The angels don't rebel against the commandment of the Lord, right? Reading on. And the Lord, Job 1:7, and the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? So the Lord said, where are you coming from? What are you doing? Right? Let's read on. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. So Satan, what Satan is saying there, he said, I'm basically doing my job. I'm doing all evil and wickedness on the earth, just like my curriculum I'm supposed to do. Right? So with that, I want to bid you a hearty shalom. Hope you was edified through the spirit and the power of the Most High Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Continue to endure, Yasha Allah. We're almost home, right? Keep the faith and keep the commandments, right? Continue to admonish each other through the spirit. Shalom. Peace and blessings to all you brothers and sisters going out and laboring, right? I forgot to mention it earlier, but all peace and blessings to you all brothers and sisters going out in the highways and byways, laboring for the house of Israel, right? For the lost sheep, to edify the sheep, right? To the mighty men, right? Getting the households in order, preparing them for the day of the Lord. The mighty sisters, reverencing their husband, honoring their husbands, teaching the children the scriptures, right? And also the mighty women, Akim and Akwath, the Akwath out here that don't have a husband, but they're still, reverencing the Lord, keeping the scriptures, and doing what thus saith the Lord, right? So shalom, shalom, all praises to the Most High. Brother Yahweh, all fishermen for Zion, shalom.